It is confirmed. The mathematical moment we have been warning you about for years has finally arrived. This is no longer a theory. It is no longer a prediction. It is a statistical certainty. As of this morning, the United States Federal Reserve has officially entered the death spiral. They will not tell you this on the evening news. The mainstream media is too busy distracting you with political theater and social division. But if you look at the raw data, if you look at the Treasury reports that were quietly released while you were sleeping, the conclusion is terrifyingly simple. The end of the Federal Reserve System as we know it has just started. And if you are holding US dollars, if your retirement is sitting in a standard 401k, or if you think your bank is safe, you need to listen to every single word of this broadcast. We are watching a controlled demolition of the greatest economic engine in history. For decades, they told us that debt doesn't matter. They told us that we could print our way to prosperity. They told us that inflation was transitory. They lied. Today, the United States national debt has shattered the $36 trillion ceiling. But the number itself isn't the confirmation. We have seen high debt before. The confirmation is in the interest payments. For the first time in the history of this republic, the United States government is now spending more money just to pay the interest on our debt than we spend on our entire national defense. Let that sink in. We are spending more to pay off the bankers at the Federal Reserve and foreign bondholders than we are spending to protect our own borders and our own people. This is the mathematical point of no return. Before I reveal the specific document that confirms their next move, I need you to do one thing. We are building a community of patriots who refuse to be blindsided. If you value the truth and you want to protect your family's future, hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, and like this video right now. It sends a message to the algorithm that we are awake and we are watching. Share this intel with someone you trust because they need to prepare too. Now, look at the reality. The Federal Reserve is trapped. Jerome Powell knows it. The elites in Davos know it. And now you know it. They have two choices, and both of them lead to the same destination: the total destruction of the purchasing power of the dollar. Option one, they keep interest rates high to fight inflation. If they do this, the interest payments on the national debt will consume the entire federal budget within 3 years. The government will collapse. Option two, they pivot. They lower rates and print trillions of dollars to pay the bills. If they do this, we enter hyperinflation. The dollar in your pocket becomes confetti. There is no third option. This is the checkmate. What we are witnessing right now is the Minsky moment. It is the moment when a credit cycle breaks, when the Ponzi scheme runs out of new investors. The Federal Reserve has been running the world's largest Ponzi scheme since 1913, using new debt to pay off old debt. But the music has stopped. The world is rejecting our debt. China is dumping U.S. treasuries. Japan is selling. The BRICS nations are building a new system backed by gold and commodities because they can see the writing on the wall. They know the Fed is insolvent. In technical terms, the Federal Reserve is currently operating at a loss. They are bankrupt. The only reason they are still open is because they make the rules. But the laws of economics cannot be cheated forever. The confirmation isn't coming from a press conference, it is coming from the bond market. The bond market is screaming that the system is broken. You need to understand that this is not an accident. Do not make the mistake of thinking these people are incompetent. They are not stupid, they are deliberate. This collapse is being engineered. Why? Because you cannot introduce a new system until you destroy the old one. They need the Federal Reserve note to fail so they can usher in their new control grid. This is why you feel the pressure at the grocery store. This is why your insurance premiums are doubling. This is why housing is unaffordable. It is the deliberate extraction of wealth from the middle class to the ruling class before the final curtain falls. The end has started. The fuse is lit. And the explosion will not be televised until it is too late to get out. To truly understand why the collapse is guaranteed, you have to go back to the scene of the crime, 1913. This is when the Federal Reserve was created in secrecy on Jekyll Island. They sold it to the American public as a way to stabilize the economy, to prevent panics. But the truth is, the Federal Reserve is neither federal, nor does it have any reserves. It is a private corporation owned by member banks designed to do one thing: strip wealth from the American people through the hidden tax of inflation. For over a century, they have been successful. Since 1913, the US dollar has lost 98% of its purchasing power. That is not an economic anomaly. That is the system working exactly as designed. But every Ponzi scheme has a mathematical limit. You can only print money out of thin air for so long before the reality of value catches up with you. We have reached that limit. The difference between 2008 and today is critical. In 2008, the Federal Reserve had ammunition. Interest rates were higher, so they could cut them to stimulate the economy. The national debt was $10 trillion, which seems laughable now. Today, the debt is $36 trillion, and inflation is embedded in the supply chain. They are out of ammo. If they try to bail out the system like they did in 2008, they will unleash a tsunami of inflation that will make the last 2 years look like stability. They know this. This is why they are allowing the banking system to fracture. They need a crisis big enough to justify the implementation of their ultimate control tool, the central bank digital currency, or CBDC. You need to look at what is happening to the banks right now. It is called unrealized losses. During the pandemic, banks took your deposits and bought U.S. Treasury bonds because they were told it was a risk-free asset. But when the Fed raised rates to fight the inflation they created, the value of those bonds crashed. American banks are currently sitting on hundreds of billions of dollars in losses that they are not marking to market. As long as you don't ask for your money back, the illusion holds. But as soon as people wake up, as soon as they realize their purchasing power is vanishing, the bank runs begin. And here is the terrifying truth. The FDIC does not have enough money to bail everyone out. They only have a reserve ratio of roughly 1% of insured deposits. If the system cracks, your savings are gone. This brings us to the most dangerous concept that nobody talks about: the bail-in. After 2008, laws were changed globally, including the Dodd-Frank Act in the United States. These laws changed the legal status of your bank deposit. You think your money in the bank is your property. It is not. Legally, once you deposit cash into a bank, it becomes the property of the bank. You become an unsecured creditor. If that bank fails, they do not have to bail you out using taxpayer money anymore. They can legally confiscate your deposits to recapitalize the bank. They call it a bail-in. It happened in Cyprus. It is written into the laws of the Western world. And with the commercial real estate market imploding right now, leaving regional banks exposed to trillions in bad debt, the trigger for a mass bail-in event is already pulled. The Federal Reserve is not protecting you from this. They are managing the controlled demolition. They are actively draining liquidity from the system. Money supply, M2, has been contracting. This has not happened since the Great Depression. When you drain money from a debt-based system, defaults are mathematically inevitable. They are crashing the economy to kill demand, to hide the fact that they destroyed the currency. This is the end we are talking about. It is not just a recession. It is a regime change. The era of the petrodollar, the era of unlimited American debt, and the era of your standard of living being subsidized by the rest of the world is over. The confirmation is seeing the central banks themselves buying gold at record paces while telling you to buy the stock market. They are exiting the burning building while telling you to stay in your seats. So, what do you do when the issuer of the global reserve currency enters a death spiral? Do you panic? No. Panic is exactly what they want. Panic makes you vulnerable. Panic makes you beg for their digital solution. Instead of panic, you need cold, hard preparation. The warning, "Do not wait," is not a slogan. It is a strategic imperative. History shows us that when a currency collapses, it happens slowly at first and then all at once. The window to convert your dying paper fiat into real assets is closing. Capital controls are coming. There will come a day, and it is coming sooner than you think, when you will try to move your money out of the banking system to buy gold or land or food, and the system will say, "Transaction denied." You must position yourself before the gates slam shut. You need to become your own central bank. Look at what the elites are doing, not what they are saying on CNBC. While they distract you with stock market rallies fueled by printed money, they are hoarding physical assets. You must diversify out of the dollar immediately. This is not about getting rich. This is about not becoming poor. This is about wealth preservation. Gold and silver are not investments. They are insurance against the stupidity and criminality of central bankers. Gold is the only financial asset that is not someone else's liability. It has no counterparty risk. If the grid goes down, if the banks close, if the dollar goes to zero, an ounce of gold is still an ounce of gold. It is the enemy of the fiat system, which is why they hate it, and it is why you must own it. But preparation goes beyond precious metals. You cannot eat gold. The end of the Federal Reserve note means the disruption of the global supply chain. The just-in-time delivery system that fills your grocery stores relies on stable credit and a trusted currency. When that breaks, the shelves go empty. Do not wait means you need to secure your food independence now. It means having water filtration. It means having a community of like-minded people who are not asleep at the wheel. The asset they fear most is a self-reliant citizen who does not need their handouts to survive. When you are independent, you cannot be controlled. When you hold assets outside of their digital tracking system, you cannot be coerced into the CBDC control grid. I must make this clear. I am not a financial advisor, and I cannot tell you what to do with your specific portfolio. I am a researcher connecting the dots that they are trying to hide. You are the captain of your own ship. You must do your own due diligence. But the data is undeniable. The trajectory is set. The Federal Reserve has destroyed the mechanism of price discovery, and now they are destroying the currency itself to cover their tracks. The soft landing they promise is a myth. You do not soft land a plane that is on fire. You brace for impact. The end of the Federal Reserve is confirmed by the math, by the debt, and by the actions of the global powers shifting away from the West. But this does not have to be the end of you. It can be a new beginning. It is the greatest transfer of wealth in human history. Wealth is never destroyed. It merely changes hands. It moves from those who hold paper to those who hold real things. It moves from the unaware to the prepared. We are entering the storm, but we will weather it together. We will stand firm. We will protect our families. And we will be the ones left standing when the dust settles. Do not let them catch you sleeping. The system is changing, the rules are changing, and the time to act is now. Thank you for watching Economy Echoes. Stay awake, stay prepared, and I will see you on the other side of the crash.